Good evening and welcome to Smart Entrepreneurship Decoded. Over the last many weeks and months, we have spoken to a variety of people from the startup ecosystem, mostly investors, but we've also spoken to lawyers, people who run accelerators, people who are from overseas, people who are connected to the ecosystem and look at it from different points of view. No startup ecosystem in the world, successful ones, have succeeded without a real rock solid university supported incubator system. In India, incubators in universities are a bit of a recent phenomena. Many progressive universities started about a decade ago. Many others are trying to catch up. There are 2 points of view to this. One, educators are not really equipped to teach people practical aspects of the business because traditionally in India, educators have not been people with a business background. They can teach you the principles of business. After all, India has universities that accepts students for MBA courses even without work experience. So they can teach you the principles, but really hands-on guidance, mentoring, etc. They are more adept at research than practical aspects of business. So it's an unfair expectation that they should run incubators in addition to being educators. On the flip side is the argument that if you teach people how to do business, shouldn't you be able to prove it yourself by running a successful incubator? But a startup university incubator, the expectations are different because these are very young people trying out ideas like projects, prototypes with a high failure rate. The Startup India program has done a wonderful job in supporting this initiative, and they have come up with progressive policies in enabling universities and encouraging them to set up incubators and support the youth, including making it almost mandatory that if a student wants to take entrepreneurship in their final year, they have to support it. Various points of view on this, various conflicting points of view, but tonight I'm joined by Professor Mathur, who's the Vice Chancellor of Birla Global University, Bhubaneswar. But more importantly, he has decades and decades of experience as an educator, leading universities in all parts of India, from the south to the north to the east now. And he should be able to help us understand this system better. Welcome to the show, Professor Mathur.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Professor Mathur, is it an unfair expectation for universities to put on universities that you should run successful incubators now?
Well, I think maybe 10 years ago, this was quite a difficult task. But now people have understood that how much value is there for startup and how much is the incubators which they help the students in the long run. Basically, we have been training our students in the university system to be doing service for others. We never thought that we were never preparing our students to give jobs to others or to produce a successful enterprise for themselves. So I think now this kind of thing, which is coming up, maybe for some people it is quite a difficult proposition, but I think that now this has been accepted across the country as one of the most important things to happen. And I think most of the universities are struggling to some extent to cobble up the enterprising people and to make the incubators work. So I think this is at this time it's the realistic way, but some time back it was quite a challenging one.
So you have seen this university system over decades and you have seen it evolve. Do you find it surprising? I certainly do. Do you find it surprising in the mindset shift and the social acceptance to be an entrepreneur? And so many more students coming and asking you whether you have a sports field or not, do you have an incubator? Does that surprise you?
Yeah, I think it is very surprising, and for the people of our age, it is very difficult to understand, because when we started with that, the kind of things which were given us to understand were entirely different than what we are preaching or telling or practicing today. And it is very, very difficult to make a shift. And I think our generation has been absorbing all these changes which have been taking place. So I think that the students, those who come here, and many times they may not be participating directly in the incubator facility, but they want to have a pride attached to that. That as you rightly pointed out, they've asked for sports field, they asked for better hostel facilities, they ask for better mess, they ask for canteens, they ask for that, and they come and ask for incubator because everybody wants to experiment things by themselves. The time has gone where we were living in information age. The time when we were students, or I started teaching, we were giving information to the students, and the job of the teacher was over. But now information is available anywhere, everywhere. Students are not interested much in the information. So I think there is a tremendous shift of the role of a teacher. And if we better understand that now no student comes to university to catch up with the information. They can just do at their Google and then out, and then they can get anything about anything. So
So
I think
you make a
yes,
very, very important point, Professor Mathur. Today, because of the internet and Google, the students are smarter than the teacher when it comes to information.
that's right.
So if you break up education into four parts, finding out what, why, how, and what if. What questions Google answers better than any teacher can. So teachers are being forced to go into lateral thinking and think of the what if situations, project based work. Do you find that a lot of the educators struggle with that, because the earlier respect was just because of the textbook and the what that you knew. Now textbooks have disappeared. I mean, I last saw a textbook in a classroom years ago.
Yeah, you are very right. And the textbooks, which were so used to be precious to me, now they have no meaning. I'm still struggling to get rid of those textbooks with me because they're no meaning now. So the students really want to explore different than, and they want to explore the things what they can do by themselves. And the employers also, now they don't look at the students, those who know how much. They are also not testing the students' knowledge that they know this or they know that, because now anybody can know anything anytime. But but they want to ask the question what you can actually do. And this thing was completely lacking in our education system. The education system was least compliant for doing things rather than knowing things. So they were, our system has not grown up. Even now it has not grown up in doing things. But I know, as my in my student days, in my high school classes, if suppose we were taught oxygen gas, production of oxygen, the teacher used to bring the whole setup and used to show the bubbles coming out and the oxygen getting produced. Those kind of thinking and those kind of teaching completely disappeared, and they just wanted to mug it up. Still that kind of thing is going on to get into competitive examinations. I think competitive exams would also change their profile, their profile of questions. But I think now no industry wants to see that you can do nothing but you know everything. So now, even if they know nothing, if they can do, if suppose you have time, I'll tell you, I'll share one experience with my incubation
Sure.
and one of the students, what has happened. Can I say now? Because
Please,
this,
please go ahead.
yeah, one of our students, he did not know in engineering. He was an engineering student, and he did not know that in which class he studied. It was in KIT actually, because he failed in many papers. There were more areas as to him because he was not, but he was an active person in the incubator center, and nobody wanted to take his case up because he had almost 20 areas or something like that, and he was supposed to graduate next year. Then no teacher wanted to give any exemption of any kind. The case was brought to me. I said, okay, no problem, I'll conduct your examination. But then I asked a question, that why you need a degree when you are and he was hiring 28 people in the camp on the campus. He was already a CEO of a company, and that was exporting. I remember LEDs that time, and he was a very successful entrepreneur. Then I said, why you need a degree? You are already an entrepreneur. You are making so much huge amount of money. You are hired 28 of the students there. Then you know what he said? He said that I want this degree for nothing but for bank loans, because banks will not give me loan if I just say that I am plus two pass. So I want to raise bank loans. I just said no problem. You just write the examinations, and I conducted his examination in a very different way, and he obviously would have passed. So imagine a student telling that he wants a degree only for bank loans. I think that time has come now.
Thank God he didn't say it's just for marriage and dowry.
No.
So, I have an interesting anecdote as well. My father
Yeah,
is near to 80, and
yeah.
he's an engineer from BIT Mesra, 1964. So, after he retired about 5 years ago, one of the leading technology institutes in Bangalore asked him to teach certain subjects. Now, my father is used to these thick Russian books on engineering. He goes to class, and after a week, he's holding his head in his hand. I said, "What happened?" He said, "Nobody reads anymore. Nobody wants a textbook. Nobody knows the fundamentals. They just want to know the shortcut." And I can't tell them that there is no shortcut. What takes time will take time. So he was quite frustrated, which leads me to my next question. Now, students are born in this social media era, they're born in this internet era. The educators tend to be older. Who will change? Does the curriculum has to change? The way we teach has to change? What has to change so that there is alignment and they see value in coming to the university? Otherwise, like Facebook, Google, Microsoft are abolishing degrees as a requirement. And McKinsey says post pandemic, half the universities in the US will shut down over the next 10 years. What are we staring at? What has to change?
I think as far as my perception goes, we have to align our teaching system to the needs of the industry, and for that reason, for that purpose only, in my other university where I was, I had made it's a mandatory requirement for all the boards of studies which are determining the course, to have at least two to three industry people sitting on that board and guiding us that what kind of courses we should need. We supported our teachers whatever way possible for the courses. Here also, where I am now, I have changed the complete boards of studies, and I have brought in every subject, including mass communication or whatever law or that, the people from the industry, those who are not connected to any otherwise. Every teacher is very comfortable with other teachers being present there when they are relooking their syllabus. X, they will replace X from X to X bar, they will change by X to Z or something like that, but they will do only cosmetic changes. And when I told in the other university that the syllabus change is only cosmetic, many of the colleagues, they did not like my saying cosmetic changes, but actually they do cosmetic changes, they don't do any structural changes. But once we brought in the industry in the picture, the industry changed the whole scenario. And I'm very happy to share this thing with you that I made it mandatory, and that was the first time in the whole country where we ran industry driven courses. And those courses were so good and so popular that I still remember the courses were done with Ericsson. And they themselves came. The university did not have any cost on that also, and they trained our students. And that was so competitive courses which we did. And I told that every school should offer minimum one industry driven course, and that was so successful. It's not that for placement purposes, it is to. And I was so happy to listen the feedback at the end of the day when they were completing the course. Even the syllabus was prepared by the students, the course material was prepared by the students, and finally they were the beneficiaries of the course. And when the feedback was being spoken out by the students, I remember one comment having said by a student that for these past 6 months, we felt that we are not in an education institution, we are in an industry. So their mindset, because once they go to industry, there's a terrible shock for them, and they really don't know how to connect what they had studied in the schools and what is the expectation of an industry. So they got all the kind of training, and the kind of grinding from the industry, and the kind of things which they were expected to do. everything they did, and the whole booklets which they prepared, all that was, and it was confessed by the company that we have not done this preparation of these course material. They have themselves done it. So I think they were partner to the whole program, and it was very successful. I think unless until we make students partner to the system, the partner to the course basically, and then they become otherwise the students are not coming to the classes, and most of the time we find the problem that the students are not attending classes, the students are no longer in attending the classes. Then I used to ask a question, give me 3 reasons why should I attend your class, and the students have, and the teachers have very hard explaining that why students should come to the class. So unless until we can tell the students why they should come to the class, and I think you might be knowing that what I heard in the past, I think everybody will be having like that kind of things. There used to be a mad lab in IIT Bombay, and that mad lab means assembly, disassembly. They were asking to play with the everything whatever they had there, or assemble, disassemble, everything, so that they learn by themselves. So I think we have to make a culture that the students are able to do things rather than we are giving lectures and all that. I think that system has
I
to
think
be
that
changed.
is the very important point you make, that an outcome based experiential learning with engagement and participation of the student, and most importantly, engagement and participation with your end client, which is the industry. So earlier, you set up a university and people came and joined you and studied. Today, I ask a lot of university owners, if you set up any business, you will first go and do a survey as to what the client needs and whether your product is fits, then only you will set up that business.
Yeah.
It's the same for university. You have to speak to the industry or wherever the end outcome has to go. But one, result of all of this is, with this mad rush for entrepreneurship, startup, craze for valuation instead of value, research for the sake of research seems to be taking a backseat. Because a lot of research has to be done for the sake of research, not for the sake of a particular outcome. Is that suffering? Yeah, are true researchers feeling pressure that now they need to give outcome, they need to get patents, they need to show monetization, they need to show it in a startup?
I think what point you have made is quite a valid point, but at the same time, any research, because research is done on societal cost, the cost comes from somewhere, and we cannot spend the societal money on just our ideas that what we want to do. Of course, the ideas. It is not that in US the kind of high risk projects are not funded. So I think what we should do, we should make a demarcation between high risk projects and low risk projects, or rather, sorry, but every country wants to do support the research where they can get the outcome for the societal benefits. Like you see COVID-19, we could get so many things done in a very fast track manner. Money was given, and that's why we could get a vaccine of different kind. And I think this was unimaginable even 5 to 10 years ago, that in such a short period of time we can develop like that, because we have tools, we have the systems now, the computers, we have intelligence, artificial intelligence also. So I think that we may have to compromise on something which just for our pleasure. Now when COVID is around the corner everywhere, then I cannot just think and then play piano or something like that. So I think we have to be living in the world, and we have to see that what is the problems are being at this time. So I think there is nothing wrong in expectations, but that they should be contributing something to the societal requirement. I think there is nothing wrong about it.
Mhm. No, that's a valid point. Let's take a step back. Now, at Birla Global University, Bhubaneswar, you're in the process of setting up an incubator.
Right.
But just before this, where you were, you had set up an award-winning incubator, yeah, at
Yeah.
a university.
Yes.
What are the two, three things universities need to get right to create a successful incubator on campus?
First of all, we should have willingness that we and then the involvement of the students and the faculty is very much required. We should allow people to fail. It's not that everything becomes successful, and we must give them guidance in such a way, the full support to them. As I told you about the examination thing, also the
True.
students. You cannot expect a student to be a successful entrepreneur at the same time the best student in the class or maximum attendance in the class. You cannot expect. So I think we have to bring in structural changes in our education curriculum, our education dispensation. We have to bring in the examination system. We have to see that how much support we are giving to them, and the mentorship which is required. And I think that it is not at all difficult. Now suppose I'm talking about at this time, post pandemic time, people, I'm just trying to push those social projects. Like, we can see that what are the migrants laborers, those who have come up, how we can help them, whether we can sell their products, whatever they are making, because Odisha is very rich in the cultural heritage, in painting, in music, dance. So can we set up some kind of incubation facility where those people get projected, and we can. So I think there are so many things where we can have social engagements. The ideas are lacking, so we have to provide some ideas to the students will take care of that. And many times students give ideas, and teachers, just because they think that ideas is coming from petty students, they don't take the ideas very seriously. They say, no, 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 we know how to do it, we have been doing this thing." So I think now the students are mentors to teachers, not teachers are mentors to the students. This thing, if we are when the as sooner we understand this kind of thing. And I have no hesitation in saying that whatever I have learned till today, I have learned from students and my peer groups. It is not my teachers. Teachers have taught their thing for which I got my livelihood. But after that, whatever I am today, it is because of my students, because they told me that how to use it. Even now, if in computer at your home also, I'm sure if your mobile is not working properly, you ask your youngest member of the family, and he will know or she will know how to
True.
set it right. And this is the
Well said.
situation. And this is the situation, I think, in the students in the university scenario also. We must engage students, we must respect them, we must respect their ideas, and allow them to fail also. There's nothing wrong in that.
Well said. You know, you are in a location, Bhubaneswar, which is not exactly known for its startup ecosystem, or at least not
Right.
yet. I have traveled all over the world extensively in India, written books on this subject. So I'm curious, what is the startup ecosystem in Bhubaneswar? Are students interested? Is something happening? I mean, how is industry interested? What kind of enthusiasm do you see?
I think now there is a lot of enthusiasm, and we have now Bhubaneswar Innovation Cluster, which is encompassing all the research institutes and in the education institutions. Most of them, they have partnered to that, and the students are very much interested. The only thing is that this place is not that industrial as it should have been, because industry, they are close hand to hand, and then lot of incubation, that of innovation and ideas come through. But Bhubaneswar is educationally very strong place, and there are a lot of education institutions. And if the students, they exchange themselves from one place to other place, they have regular meetings from one institution to other institution, because as I told, that KIT incubation center is one of the best in the whole country. They are even mentoring northeastern region in this country as far as incubation facility is concerned. And they have incubated so many things that they are selling very much great demand in the market, whether it is yogurt, or whether it is bread or bakery products. Many things they have done, or LEDs. I have not visited because of pandemic after I came to Bhubaneswar, that center, but I come to know that they are doing lots and lots of things, including floriculture, or many things they are doing it. And so I think that once the students, they visit from one incubation center to other incubation center, and they are allowed to crossbreed, I think that the culture will come up. And the teacher's role should be only facilitatory role rather than governing role. So I think that once you give them freedom, they will make it happen in the
So,
everywhere in the world that has
yeah.
happened.
So for an incubator, you need the three I's to come together, right? Innovation, idea, industry, and investment.
Yeah.
All three need to come together. Obviously, there's a gap in the industry side, in the physical location you are. But is there a gap on the investment side as well? The ecosystem of angel investors, mentors, guides.
I think that also is required, that investment is has to grow up, as it is not growing up. Most of the incubators are getting support from the government side only. But I think that sooner or later, but because the problem is that the person who wants to invest wants 100% success, and they want that they can not only take out the money, they can make the profits out of that. So I think the people should understand that it is not that game as it is envisaged by the industry people. But I think people have started understanding that if we have a startup and if the ideas are good, they will get support. So
So, in your experience, does alumni play a huge role in that, in the mentoring and the initial investment and the support to its own students?
actually, in KIT, this was not the case. Alumni were involved, and many of the students, those who were the part of the incubator, they were alumni. But it is not that there was no structured mechanism of alumni interacting with the incubation system. But I hope that they have now stepped in a big way. But I think that that is a great idea, that we have alumni, those who are in a position or they are connected to some industry, but that the institutions now that institution is becoming a little old now. In that case, they will have a lot of alumni strength. And the new institution like Birla Global University, which has started only 5 4 5 years 6 years 5 years ago, may not have that kind of that alumni base at this point in time. So I think the older institutions definitely have an advantage. If you talk about the universities like Banaras Hindu University, or those universities which are old universities, their alumni in a very significant positions they are occupying in the country. So I think they should be of help. But the universities had no connect with their alumni. The problem is this, that all these universities, they never thought of connecting with the alumni. Only maybe celebrities, alumni, they would just bother about it, but they don't bother about all the alumni. So sometimes alumni also shy away, that so long they never bothered about us, but now they need our help, so they are asking us to come and through. They are also busy in their own way. So, and I think that the new institutions now, they are connecting with the alumni, and they can have the connectivities with the alumni. I'm sure that would definitely help.
So, going to, since we are now completely out of time, I'm going to ask you my final question. You made a valid point that a new university like yours has to be viewed differently from well-entrenched universities that have been there for decades and have a certain credibility, aura, alumni network, and they're ingrained into the system and people's collective memory in a certain way. But in the age of digitization, as you see all these edutech companies become famous, often doing frivolous stuff, at least to my mind, is there a way universities too can leapfrog this credibility gap and not take 40 years to create credibility? After all, if an edutech company without a campus can create it in 2 to 5 years, putting Shah Rukh Khan on the screen and saying now two people will teach and tutor this one poor child who spent 8 hours in school, and now cruelly we are going to teach him 2 hours more at home, basically scavenging off a social dysfunction. I'm completely against it. You can see it, hear it in my words and tone. Why don't universities use that and get smarter? And because your degrees are so much more valuable.
I think I have started doing this thing, realizing this fact that we have to fast track ourselves, because we cannot just go the same way as 20 years or 10 years are passed by other universities. So we cannot, we have to really fast track. I have already started doing certain attempts, like connecting, as I told you, connecting with the industry. We are not only that, we have made adjunct professors from industry here. So now adjunct professors would also, and they are completely from industry, nobody from education side.
Okay.
Education side, we have professors already. So I have appointed in our university at this time at least 6 or 7 adjunct professors, those who are completely from the industry, and they have been given complete freedom. And now this year only I have done it because so their mandate will be to just experiment with anything whatever they want with the students, because the industry people have a problem that they don't have manpower, and the universities are surplus free manpower. I think this is a great luxury that we have a manpower which even doesn't ask for the money, and where the company will get money unless until they pay per hour basis to the people. So I think this gap, nobody understands it. I think what we should do, we should motivate the companies to use our manpower, or we should try to help that this free manpower which is available has to be directed towards doing all these kinds of activities. And I'm sure the industry takes it very, very positively, because industry has something shortage, there's a manpower. We have
True.
full manpower. So I think the joining hands with the manpower which we have, and giving the companies a space in our campus is the right thing to do now. So I have given the professorships to the industry people. I'll be very happy to give to more such people, those who bring new ideas for our students, or they want to explore ideas with the talent which we have. I have no problem, because we won't charge any money, but we would be very happy if something comes out from our students' minds.
Professor Mathur, it has been a delight speaking to you. Your sheer
Thank
candor, insights. I did not feel for the last half hour that I was speaking to a vice chancellor of a university. I felt I was speaking to an entrepreneur. You are so forward looking, thinking industry. We hardly spoke any academics. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us. I wish you the very best. And may Birla Global University go places with you at the head.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, and welcome
Thank
to
you.
you
Good night.
sometime to our university.